All right, welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today we're going to be talking about speed density tuning. HP tuners.
Okay, that's good. Yep, that's good.
All right, so I'm going to start my recording of my screen.
Recording in progress.
See, I got my as found up, so every time you start to tune, you should read the vehicle, save a separate file, just so you can have something to reference in case you need to go back, or if you make a really big mistake, you can go back. But today I want to just show you quickly how to get set up for speed density tuning, and I ran a log earlier. I'm gonna go back through how to set this up. I'll show you the log that I got and how to apply it to the volumetric efficiency table and smooth it out. So it's gonna be a bit of a long one, but just bear with me. So go into engine diagnostics, wait for it to load up. You're going to go into airflow, and right here we need to fail the MAF sensor. So this way, when you're tuning, your MAF table doesn't come into play. So MAF frequency fail high. If you look down at the bottom, it'll say this is the frequency threshold above which the VCM will set the high MAF frequency DTC. So essentially your engine code, right? So you're going to take that, we're going to put that at 2. You're going to put MAF frequency fail low, which is essentially the same thing, but the low below the frequency. We're going to put that to 1. So now we know the MAF is always going to be failed. It's not going to work. Before you used to be able to unplug that, but just unplug your MAF sensor, but that doesn't work anymore because you got intake air temperature things and all that. So if we go back, sorry I messed that up. Look, if you look down at the bottom again, P0103, P0102, I just know which ones they are because I've done this so many times. But those are the two DTCs that you're going to have to fail. So if I go into my DTCs and I go down to P0102, my mass or volume airflow A circuit low, I'm going to go down here and I'm going to select mill on first error. And for P0103, I'm going to do the same thing, mill on first error. So now that that's out of the way, we're going to do the same thing that we do with everything else when we're tuning. We're going to go to fuel. We want to shut off our DFCO, so our deceleration fuel cutoff. So enable ECT, so engine coolant temperature, minimum ECT to allow DFCO. So we're going to turn that up to 400. That'll shut it off for sure. And then disable is maximum ECT to disable DFCO. Below this ECT, DFCO will be disabled. So we're going to go with this one, $3.99. Then, after that, we're going to go into oxygen sensors. And I am going to go to my O2 readiness, ECT. That's going to be what affects my short-term and long-term fuel trims. I'm going to set that to 400 as well. Click here to select everything. And then I'm just going to push equal. And that will replace everything with 400. Just like that. Then I'm going to go into my airflow dynamic. Hold on, I'm messing up. I'm mixing up here. I'm going to go into fuel, oxygen sensors, right down here. My long-term fuel trim. So min ECT. Get mixed up sometimes. There's so many different tables and everything. So you want to shut off your long-term fuel trims as well. Your O2 readiness ECT will shut off your short-term, but you want to shut off your long-term as well. So the min ECT, LTFD is disabled below this engine temperature. So we're going to go same thing. We'll go 400 and max. Learn is disabled above this engine coolant temperature, and we'll go 1. Am I forgetting anything here? I don't think so. I usually go into my airflow and I will go into general. Is it general? No, where is it? Airflow. Goodness, lost here. There is a table for your intake air temperature that it'll kind of take into consideration either your intake air temperature or your cylinder, your engine coolant temperature, and makes corrections based on the amount of air that's inside your intake manifold on that. Right here, sorry, cylinder charge temperature right here. So bias, I usually zero that out and I leave it zeroed out. So this way, it's the table determines how much the charge temperature is based towards ECT or intake air temperature. Higher numbers bias the result towards engine coolant temperature. I'm more interested in the intake air temperature, to be honest, so I just leave that out like that. And that's it. So I'm going to cut to the scene where me and Amanda were doing some tuning, and I'll show you what that looks like on the log in a minute.
The second you get off the accelerator, then it just goes crazy.
Yeah. And I got defuel, so like deceleration fuel cutoff. I got it shut off. This is actually like there's a lot of information there. Like we're getting there. I'm gonna slow down and then use this hill
I mean, it doesn't look terrible. She went crazy there. 15. We were like super rich, super lean, all over the place.
Yeah, eh?
Yeah. Minus 20. I don't even remember now what that's what you have to do when you want to do a pull. Have me. Because I'm like, I know we're going fast right now, but I'm just looking at the numbers.
You're not looking at the road getting scared.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
That's the trick. And if you do crash,
We weren't
I'm
going-
gonna stay loose. I have no idea. Pretty good. Big improvement.
Yeah. And it drives better too, I find. Like I find it's more predictable. You know what I mean? Snoozy? Getting snoozy?
Warm in here, so cozy. The seats recline. My feet, the floors are low. I'm just like, have a news. This happened last time though too. It's
Yeah,
the
I know,
reading of the
yeah.
map. You just like numbers, you know.
All right, so we're back. Here, I'm going to make sure that it's actually recording this still. Yeah, I think it is. Anyway, so this is the log that we just ran. You can see it's actually pretty good. It's a little bit on the rich side on when I cut throttle. So runs a little bit lean, sorry, but down in the higher RPMs and everything like that, it's running pretty good. These little few sections that are lean in here, I'm not overly concerned about them. The tune looks pretty decent, but I'm going to show you how to tune for it anyways to make it that much better. So we're going to highlight, we're going to copy. We are going to go into our HP tuners, into virtual volumetric efficiency. I'm going to manifold switch open. It doesn't really matter. Then I'm going to paste special, multiply by half. Then when I do that, you can see all these areas where information has been put in. So all these areas here are areas where the information was added. So all I have to do is kind of smooth these out. If you look at the graph, I hope it'll let me, yeah. So you can see, if you look into the graph, there's some really low spots there, here, whatever. I can hit calculate coefficients right now, and that'll blend it out, but I don't want to do that. What you want to do first is you want to find these areas, highlight these areas here where the table hasn't been touched. See how it says like 1606, 1573, and in between is 1683. So that area hasn't been touched. So I'm gonna smooth that out just with the interpolate. So highlight, interpolate between vertical bounds. See how it smoothed it out? Same thing here. That's all you're gonna do. Don't bite off too much. It's a lot easier when you have a mouse and you're not just using like the touchpad that's on the computer. But go from one section to another and then stop, go to the next section. This will help smooth out your table and allow you to get more consistent air-fuel ratio mixtures, lambda, in the long run. So I'm just smoothing this stuff out, like so. Here. I remember the first time that I tried it, I was like, you know, am I doing it right? I was kind of like a little bit like nervous and to try it, but like you just got to go for it. So just keep a backup file, keep your as found, and try it. And I'll tell you right now that if you do exactly what I did here, your tune will be better than factory. I can promise you that, because the factory tunes suck the big one. So continuing on, and obviously the more data that you get when you're driving around, obviously the better. You can fill in more of these sections, make things a little bit more like fluid in transition. It's a lot easier to fill this in with, you know, well, it's not easier to fill it in with the car. I can fill it in pretty quick on the computer, but it's not as accurate. It's best to let the engine tell you what it wants to do. So again, I'm going to go here like this for this one. I'm gonna bite off a little bit more, spread that out. Here too. Grab all this easy stuff. Like so. Like the best thing you could do is just fill all these tables in to the best of your ability on while you're in the car driving. But you know, if you're going to be doing some third gear, fourth gear pulls in, like for instance, my car will do, you know, about, I'm going to guess, about 240 kilometers an hour in third or fourth gear. Like the speedometer stops at the speedometer stops at 200. It's supposed to go to 200 miles an hour. I've never had it going that fast, but you know, you get yourself in a lot of trouble. So we'll go like this. See what that looks like. Let's just take a quick peek. So still in there is kind of low. It's probably one of these over here. So we'll go like this, interpolate that. We're going to interpolate this. We're going to interpolate this. Oh, messed up. Like that, like this. Now, there's a lot of information there, and this is where it becomes tricky because I'm just interpolating it and I'm not actually taking the raw data. What happens is it's more of like a mathematical, like an estimated guess on what the fueling should be for that area. So is it going to be accurate? Probably not. I'd rather be rich than lean. You don't want to be too rich because then the fuel that's actually being sprayed into the cylinder walls, into the cylinder will wash the engine oil away from the cylinder walls and you get premature wear. So if you're spraying nitrous, you're going to want to be a little bit more rich before you spray, obviously, especially if you're spraying dry. If you're spraying wet, then most kits come set up. Come set up for it anyway, so they're jetted, so they add the correct amount of fuel. But you know, make sure that your wideband's up and running, make sure it's properly set up, and make sure that you're not leaving yourself in a situation where you hit that button, you're making an extra 100 horsepower, and you go lean. You know, one thing too, which is not a bad idea, when you're tuning virtual volumetric efficiency, so typically the math table takes over when you're above 4,000 RPM ish. Power enrichment, I wouldn't shut it off for speed density tuning. One of the things that you might want to do though is go into Spark, go to your high octane table, and pull 4 degrees. So just go, you know, highlight everything, go -4 and hit plus. And that will add -4 to the entire graph. For the low octane table, you know what, you might as well do the same thing. Pull a couple of degrees out just to be safe. Make sure on your histograms in your VCM scanner, make sure you got Spark Retard and Spark Advance set up in there to monitor that. Spark Advance, not so much of an issue, but Spark Retard, you definitely want to be looking at that. And make sure that your charts have a knock sensor in there, knock retard in here. You'll be able to see if you start to get knock. So if you start to get knock, pull more timing away, and or add fuel. But if you're running rich already and you're getting knock, you got to pull Spark. There's other things you can do too, colder plugs, you know, water methanol injection, that kind of stuff, right? But you know, I'm guessing that for the people who are watching this YouTube channel, they're probably not tuning for superchargers. Like I tune for my nitrous and my nitrous oxide, but like superchargers, water methanol, all that stuff. Like most of the guys who are trying to learn about this stuff from my channel are, you know, just backyard mechanics and that kind of stuff, looking to get maybe a bit more fuel mileage out of their car, or a little bit more horsepower, or etc. Right? So, getting somebody who really knows what they're doing though with this kind of stuff is extremely important. So, you know, make sure that, you know, you do your research, go on the HP Tuners web forums. Make sure that you you know, take it easy, because this program is well powerful enough to allow you to tear the motor out of your car within a couple hours. So you crank that ignition timing up and pull back some fuel, and you're gonna blow a motor for sure. So if you have any questions, feel free to throw something in the comments. You can reach out to me, send me a message, whatever. I went from like 30 subscribers to 107 today over the course of like 2 months, and I don't even think I haven't really posted a video in that long, which is like super exciting. I got some stuff for the car. I got my muffler delete kit in the garage. I just got to get it put on, just trying to find some time, and I got some drag slicks for it. So we're hoping to get out to Chapleau racetrack next month. Might not be able to, but if not, the weekend after Chapleau, we'll head down south to a race, maybe St. Thomas, meet up with a friend of mine who's got a Nitro funny car. Rainmaker is the name of the car. You can search him up on YouTube too. He's got some pretty wicked stuff. So please give a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. If there's anything that I can help with or any questions, whatever, feel free to ask. Thank you very much, and we'll see you soon. Remember to get tuned and stay tuned.
Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough.